guys, it's Dave. Hey, thanks for tuning in. We're going to be looking today at how to build a stainless steel wick. This is a multi-source kind of all-in-one video that I'm doing to take all of these different pieces of this crazy stainless steel mesh puzzle and put them together to get something out there that hopefully people can use. Without any further delay, we're going to go ahead and get started with the build process of our stainless steel wig. Alright guys, so what we have in front of us is a paper cutter, and we are going to attempt to use this paper cutter to cut us a piece of this 500 stainless steel mesh to 1.5 inches. We're going to see how this does. It may not cut it worth a damn. Alright, now we want to take this piece, and this is already 6 inches long, so we're just going to take that 6-inch piece here and fold it in half. And just put a little crease right there at that halfway point. And then we're going to put that through our paper cutter and just cut it right along that crease. Alright, and that leaves us with two 1.5 by 3-inch pieces of stainless steel mesh. Alright guys, so what we're looking at here is a little bowl of some soapy water. That's just standard like Dawn dish soap. And we're going to take our piece of stainless steel mesh and dip it down into that soapy water. Get it nice and washed off. Get all the manufacturing oils and any kind of impurities that we can off of this. So we're going to go ahead and rinse this off. I'm going to move the bowl here out of the way. Alright, so there we go. One nice clean piece of 1.5 by 3-inch stainless steel number 500 mesh. Alright guys, so before we get started with this next step, I wanted to just cite a couple of pretty serious precautions here. I'm going to be working with an open flame propane pencil torch. I just wanted to remind everybody that whenever you're playing with open flame, especially indoors, make sure you're following all of the appropriate fire safety precautions. So now with our lit torch, we're going to torch both sides of our stainless steel mesh. I've got the stainless steel mesh inside a set of needle nose pliers. Now we're going to torch the second side. We're going to go ahead and try to start rolling this up right here. Alright, so initially I'm just going to roll it real loose. And not try to get anything fancy going at all. Alright, and that just gives us a nice coil there right off the bat. You know, it's just going to want to roll up on its own now. Alright, so now we're going to start working there from the center and try to get us a real nice tight wrap going, because the end result is we want that core to be solid. Alright, we got it going pretty tight right now. And you can kind of see there, it's getting wrapped up pretty tight. And we're just kind of pulling this wick from the center out to the edges as we roll it on down. And we're just getting this thing as tight as we can. Alright, it's looking pretty good right there. So what we can see here is, even with that tight wrap, there's still a bit of a pinhole going down through the center of the wick. So, you know, we want to try to avoid that. We want this to be as solid as possible. So we're going to unwrap this and, you know, continue to wrap and unwrap and work this wick until it is a solid center. Alright, so now what we see is the center core of this coil, or of the wick right now, is pretty solid there. So we're going to work with this, and now we're going to unwrap the last 1/4 inch or so of this coil, or I'm sorry, of this wick. We're going to fold that over, like so. We're going to fold it inside so that that seam that you see here is going to go on the outside of the wick assembly, and that's going to make it where that that outermost seam is nice and straight with no frays that could potentially cause shorts in our wick. Alright, so we can see here, this is the top cap of our AGAT, and you can see the open wick hole right there, and this thing slips down in there nice and easy. So we're going to go ahead and work with this wick in its current shape. You know, we'll go ahead and give it a couple more nice tight rolls there. You know, and I'm really pinching down on there to make sure that this core stays nice and solid. And we are going to continue with our oxidation process. Alright guys, so we're going to start oxidizing this wick. Alright, we've got our torch lit up here, and we're just going to run that wick over the torch until it gets nice and orange. So now this wick is getting nice and hot and getting red all the way to its core. We're going to go ahead and drop that down. Alright, so for the next part of this process, we're going to take our rolled wick assembly, We're going to coat it with, this is a 50-50. Actually, it looks like it's got a little more vegetable glycerin in it than I was looking for, but I don't think that's a bad thing. We're going to get a nice coating of this liquid on here. Get it nice and saturated with that. And then use a lighter to light it up. There we go. That one's burning there pretty good. We'll just let that burn away. So what you see is I've got inside those needle nose pliers, I've got that oxidized stainless steel wick. Alright, and by cutting that off to a taper like that, the theory is that we're increasing the surface area of the core of the wick. So now that we have that trimmed, alright, we're going to turn this thing around here, and we're going to wrap our coil onto the stainless steel wick assembly. Alright, so here I've already got a short length of 30 gauge A1 Kanthal wire. We're going to pre-oxidize that with our lighter here. Which is just going to help it hold its shape a little better. Alright, so with the 30 gauge, I want to go about 6 wraps here. So we're going to go from the bottom here and work our way around. You know, again, we're doing this with the wick out of the atomizer. For now, it looks a little ugly. We're going to clean this up just a bit here. And clean up our spacing. Right now the spacing looks pretty good. We've done a 6-5 coil on there. And what that means is on one side of the coil you're going to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wraps. And on the other side we're going to see 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Alright, so this is what we would call a 6-5 coil. 6 on one side and 5 on the other. We'll go ahead and insert this down into our atomizer head. And we're going to get that lower leg down where we want it to be. We'll go and loosen up the ground screw with a negative screw right here. Alright, we want to do what we call an S bend here, where we're going to take that lower leg and we want to make somewhat of a figure S here. So as it comes off of the wick assembly, it's going to make one portion of an S here, and then we want it to come around the screw and make the other portion of the figure S. So we want it to come off the wick assembly and then We don't want to put any type of extra tension on there. So we're just kind of wrapping it around that ground screw, and we're going to tighten it down just enough to keep it from slipping out of there. Alright, so it's good now, and we're going to go ahead and break off that little pigtail. We just need to twist it around a few times, and there we go. Loosen up the very top of that center post. So you can see right there we've taken that and loosened it up. Alright, now we want to do the same thing here. Well, we've got another figure S, and we'll go ahead and finger tighten that down. Alright, now we'll just grab our needle nose pliers, take hold of that leg coming out of the positive end. Well, we're all nice and trimmed. And we see we've got that coil assembly on there. I'm trying to keep that bottom leg of the coil, it's raised up where it's not touching the base of the AGAT. We don't have any kind of washers or anything like that, so we'll go ahead and take this thing and screw it onto the top of our Vamo. It's a little too bright to see, but it's firing right now at 3 volts. And this is a 1.7 ohm coil, so that's right around where we want to be. Here's our first fire at 3 volts. We'll see what it looks like. So, I mean, it looks like it's getting kind of orange all the way around. It's a bit hot there right at the top, but let's see, it's not too bad. So we'll do a little bit of poking there. It looks like it's leaning a little bit too much right here. So I'm gonna kind of fold that back and see what that does for us. Yep, I mean, we got that hot spot right at the top. And what that tells me is that this wick is grounding out our coil wire. So we're going to play around with that just a little bit here. Just a little red up there. And you can see just by poking that just a little bit, we were able to get rid of that top hot spot. Alright, so it looks like those initial sets of hot spots are gone. So we're going to go ahead and run this up to 3.5 volts. And we're at 1 point. Oh, now we're at 2 ohms. So clearing up that hot spot right there was able to take it from 1.7 to 2 ohms. So we're going to go ahead and fire it off again here at 3.5 volts. Let's see how it's looking now. I don't know if you can tell this in the video, but this is looking really nice. This is absolutely the best one that I've done. Um, so the colors in the video look a little weird. But, what you really can't see in the video. Uh-oh. All right, and this is our first fire at 3.7 volts. I'm going to turn off some of this weird stuff here and see if you can't see that bright orange. Alright, so if you can't tell by watching the video, I mean, at least from what I'm seeing in the video, it's not showing up as orange as much as it is almost a blue. But what you can tell is that there is a significant change in color on the coil. So I'm going to go ahead and fire this thing. So I'm firing it now, and it takes us a few seconds at 3.7 volts for those coils to light up nice and even from top to bottom. No hot spots. The coil or the leg from the center post over to the wick is not glowing at all, which is beautiful. And from this vantage point, we can also see that the leg from the negative screw is not glowing either. All that's glowing is our wrapped coil. So I think we're in good shape with that coil, guys. With that, we're going to go ahead and fire it one more time at 4 volts just to see how that changes things. And right now we're at a good 1.8 ohms. So 3.8 is about as high as I'd probably want to vape that, but we'll let it at 4 and see how that looks. Alright, so it looks like it's getting, I mean, that's still really good. That's a nice intense heat all the way across the board. You know, none of them look like they're significantly hotter than the other. As you can see, what we're doing is we're just kind of pulsing that that fire button. Now it looks like that top coil is getting a little warm. You know, and that's just from a little bit of shaking. So we're gonna poke at that just a little bit. Really heat it up here. Let's see if we can. Oh, there it goes. We're just looking for slight movements there. You see, we just poked at it just a little bit with this needle, and you know, we got a significant change in the way this thing is heating up. So I think we're good, guys. I'm not going to mess with it anymore. Um, you know, I think our wick is in a good position. You know, and we can kind of get an idea of that by sitting this top cap, the top cover next to the cap itself. You just want to make sure that the height of that wick doesn't really extend up much further than where the top of the top cover starts to taper off. So here where we can get those kind of side by side with each other, we're in a pretty good spot right there. Alright, because what happens is where that thing starts to taper off, it starts to taper off on the inside of the cover as well, and we don't want the inside of the wick touching the inside of our uh, top cover, because it would cause, excuse me, we don't want the wick touching the inside of our top cover, as that would cause some pretty serious grounding issues. Alright guys, we're back. I'm taking a little bit of a leap of faith here. You know, I feel like the end result, the final product of our wrapped stainless steel wick and the that 30 gauge Canthal coil that we've got going ended up looking real nice. You know, it's still firing off really good. It's firing very even. You know, I'm still not seeing any kind of hot spots on the positive or negative legs. All of our coil wraps are burning nice and even. You know, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the fill screw here on the top of our tank assembly. And that leap of faith that I'm taking is I am using what is the last little bit of my Heather's Heavenly Vapes Heavenly Tobacco. This is a fantastic juice. You know, I'm just going to wet down the top of this wick here, right at the top. And just kind of let that drip down right through the wick core. All right, now I'm just gonna fill this thing up with my heavenly tobacco. All right, so we got our tank loaded up there with our Heather's Heavenly Tobacco. We'll put that top fill screw back in. All right, so we can see that this thing is vaping nice here. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and throw the top cover back on here. I think we are pretty much done. Not too bad. Not too bad for the first vape. You know, some folks have mentioned that it seems a little cool. Um, you know, and one of the things that I've noticed is with the stainless steel construction, that stainless steel acts as a heat sink, and what I think is happening is just the heat sinking action of the stainless steel is pulling a lot of that heat from the vape itself, and you know, so it's allowing the coil to get hot. You know, you can see I don't have a very long drip tip on this thing, but it's long enough that you know, the end result, the vape that I'm getting has cooled off considerably than if you were to pull the drip tip off and just a uh, take a draw directly from the you know, the 510 drip tip opening there in the top of the top cover. Oh, yeah, I'm starting to get the flavor coming through already. I think that the initial burns that you do with the you know, after you do the oxidizing and the quench bath, you know, the initial burns that you do with that PGVG juice uh, actually help quite a bit in the getting the flavor to come through a little faster, getting rid of some of that initial metallic taste that some folks have. I'm going to take another vape here. Mm. All right, so I wanted to point out that this thing is uh, is wicking really nice. We can kind of see here that that juice level is already starting to drop just from the few vapes that I've taken since I got the build completed. Um, and it's keeping up with chain vaping now really good. You know, since I stopped filming earlier, I've been just vaping away on this thing, just enjoying the flavor. You know, just for demonstration purposes, I'll try out a drip tip here that's got a little wider hole. All right, so this one's got a nice big hole in it. We'll try out a vape with this one now. This may, you know, air out that draw quite a bit, but we'll see how it does. Wow. That makes a huge difference. All right, so you know, the size of the hole running through the center of your drip tip obviously makes a big old difference. This one's got a big wide hole running down the center of the drip tip, as you can see there. I mean, that is a big gaping hole. This is the drip tip that I've been using for dripping, you know, so I don't have to take the tip off of the end of the dripping atomizer. But this thing works fabulous on the end of these Genesis atomizers, guys. The you know, the bigger the hole in your drip tip, the more vapor you're going to get out of this thing. That's really good. All right. So again, the flavor is not quite as intense as it is coming out of a dripping setup, but it is very close, a very close second. I like this thing a lot, and I hope you guys do too.